A mysterious map, a hidden island, and one VTuber with a love for nostalgic retro games. Join her adventure as she sets sail in search of long-lost treasure. Each week brought new perils, puzzles to solve, foes to best, and secrets to unearth, all leading closer to the legendary prize of Treasure Island.
Okay, so what was that? That was actually the intro to Retro Adventures and Treasure Island, a community event on Retro Achievements where players like me got swept into a full-on story adventure, complete with weekly challenges and achievements throughout the course. And if you're new here, Retro Achievements is a site that adds achievements to your favorite classic game. Most people use it to master games, which means getting every single achievement for a title. Don't worry, I'll be doing some of those too. But what I feel really makes Retro Achievements shine are events like this, where the community can come together, take on challenges, and sometimes discover games they've never even heard of. So, enjoy this video of me showcasing my own journey through Retro Adventures Treasure Island. And who knows, maybe there will be a new retro adventure in the future that we'll go through. Alright, Task 1 had me choose between getting an achievement in Lost in Blue or Lemmings to the Tribe. Not being very great at Lemmings, I opted for Lost in Blue, and it was the time. I had to play this game 3 separate times. The second time was because I had really messed up and just wanted to restart, and the third, well, we'll get there. Lost in Blue was a sequel to the survival kids games from the Game Boy. In this game, we played as Keith and Sky on a deserted island trying to survive. For the most part, this just involved walking around and trying to find anything we could eat. The achievement we were going for, though, was the rainforest, which had us have to get to the jungle. In order to manage this, we had to make sure our strength, water, and hunger bars for both characters were at about 30%, as we needed to take both with us to unlock being able to go there. Controls in this game were awkward, and trying to get enough to get to the jungle was a pain, but eventually after about an hour we managed to do it. But when I did, no achievement popped. I was so confused and then looked it up, and I was playing on the US version of the game, so I went and redid all of it. For Task 2, I could gain 1 AP if I wrote about my character I was playing. First, let me explain what AP is, though. AP stands for Adventure Points. These were earned by doing additional challenges and would let me skip tasks or sometimes change what the task was. We started with 0 and had to earn them along the way. As for my writing about my character, I'll include a paste bin below showing all my lore that I wrote for my journey if you want to give it a read. For Task 3, we could earn another AP for drawing fan art of our character on the beach at Treasure Island. I ended up making this piece inspired by the mounts from Super Mario Bros. 3, as it is one of my favorite childhood games. For Task 4, I had to choose one of 3 games with a fairly difficult achievement, or if I wanted to, I could use 2 AP to make it easier. First was Mega Man 3 beating Snake Man with only the Mega Buster and no E-Tanks or Rush Utilities. At first, I thought this would be my best option. I mean, how hard could Mega Man be anyways? And well... yeah, I may be very bad at Mega Man. Let's check out the Smurf. For this one, I had to defeat the snake boss without taking damage on hard difficulty, or just beat the snake on any difficulty. This game was something else, though. The movement was very floaty, and playing on hard had enemies throwing stuff at me constantly. It was getting very annoying, so I decided to try the third game in hopes that this wouldn't end my journey. The last game was Shanghai 2, where we had to complete the snakeboard on difficulty 4 in normal mode, or complete a snakeboard on any difficulty in normal mode. This game is basically just Mahjong Solitaire, where you match 2 matching tiles and is very simple. However, the achievement set for this game meant you can't undo anything. So if you mess up, you have to restart the board over. Originally I was going to spend the 2 AP to make this easier, but after a bit of grinding I was able to do it on difficulty 4 and pass this task. For task 5, we had 3 options of games to play. Well, we did if you did this week by week. Since I came in late, I had 2 options, but we'll get to that later. First game was Mamano Hunter Yoko, which was incredibly difficult and I just couldn't do. So I was stuck with the other option of Ninpen Manbaru. This is a game I beat for a different event a year ago called Unwanted. And when I did, I was so frustrated I said I'd never return to it, but here I am. This game is a 3D platformer on the Saturn with some awkward controls where you can easily just die or fall off a platform, and god I hope this is the last time I have to come back to this game because I really don't enjoy it. Anyways, we just had to beat the boss of World 2 and it was fine for the most part. Alright, I'm putting tasks 6 and 7 together because they're quick to explain. For task 6, we earned another AP by writing a journal entry, and for task 7, we had to master a snake game for 1 AP. I started doing this with Snakeroid, but I realized I didn't really need the extra AP and I wasn't really having fun with the game, so I just ended up skipping the task. So this is where our third option from Task 5 comes into play. For people who played the game Trip World DX Task 5, they ended up dying and losing 1 AP in the story. They still kept credit for the week, but it brought in 2 new tasks for us. For Task 8, we had to play Quattro Adventure, which was a mashup of 4 different games. We had to specifically play Boomerang Kid, which is sort of like a puzzle platformer and just beat an early stage in it. Nothing too hard, but the game is a bit difficult to get jumps down correctly, so it took a little bit of time. Then for Task 9, we had to play Downfall on the Jaguar, where we just had to reach 1,000 points, which again wasn't too bad. Completing both of these earned us another 2 AP. For Task 10, we had to earn 2 achievements based on which path we wanted to go down. Initially, I started with Chocobo Land, a game of dice, because it sounded like a fun and interesting idea. Little did I know this game was basically just Fortune Street, but Final Fantasy, with an AI opponent who did nothing but piss me off to the point I just ended up rage quitting. After that, I decided to try to go down the other path, as no 2 games in the initial path seemed to interest me. So I moved on to Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo Tales. This was a cute little game where he plays a chocobo who's trying to rescue their friends who all got sucked up into this fairy tale book. We just had to complete Chapter 1, which took no time at all. The game was super charming, and I was actually enjoying myself, so I plan on coming back to play it more later on. Afterwards, I went on to Monster Rancher, as it was a series I remember growing up with as a kid. This game, however, was, well, I was not great at it. A lot of the time I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just getting frustrated, so I ended up dropping it. I tried all the other games in this path, and nothing really clicked until I tried Emerald Dragon. This was a fairly unique RPG where we played as a dragon disguised as a human and had to go find our friend Tamron. It took me a bit to understand the combat and certain other mechanics, but after a bit I got the hang of it and managed to get the achievement for it. Task 11 was another journal entry for 1 AP, and Task 12 provided us with an interesting puzzle. In the story, we came across a wooden signpost and 3 stone tablets with runes and numbers on it. We had to solve the puzzle and get the thing it points to. Initially, I was kinda dumb and tried to translate the runes, which gave me a garbled mess. I knew the tablets looked like a Sudoku board, but it still wasn't clicking with me. It wasn't until I saw a hint in the Discord saying, what about RetroAchievements is 4 characters, and what is 6 characters? I then realized that we had to solve the Sudoku board and plug in the numbers where the runes are on the board to get a specific game and achievement. Doing this brought me to Mystery Dungeon Shiren the Wanderer, where we had to solve Puzzle 6, Don't Go Straight. This game is a roguelike dungeon crawler, and honestly, I was kinda having fun with it. The puzzle wasn't too difficult to figure out either, and honestly, I kinda wanted to come back to this game. It also made me wonder if the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games are similar to this, and if so, I might finally check those out. Completing this earned us another 2 AP. For Task 13, we had to earn one of 2 achievements. We had to either get to the summit of Celeste Mountain in Celeste Classic, or complete World 1-6, Little Sun Island, and DK Jungle Climber. I ended up doing both of these for a reason we'll get to later. Initially, I started with Celeste Classic. It's just a regular port of Celeste Classic to the GBA, which I don't think I really need to explain at all. You run, you jump, you get to the top. It took me a bit to do because I'm really not good at Celeste, but I ended up managing to do it. And for DK Jungle Climber, the game was fairly easy as we just had to grab onto pegs and swing around to get to the ends of the levels. Pretty straightforward game, so not much to talk about here either. I ended up doing this without much issue. For task 14, we had to choose one of 3 games again, and I chose to do Prehistoric Man, where we had to collect all treasure on stage 5. This option was the only really easy option, as the other 2 games were Swamp Thing, where I couldn't even get past stage 1. And Mugen Senshi Valleys, where I was also struggling. Initially, I thought I'd have to skip this task because I could not do the one level in this game where you've got a glider. I just was not getting it until I watched a video of the game and saw exactly what I was doing wrong. It controls just like Mario Escape in Super Mario World, and once I figured that out, it wasn't too bad. The game is also pretty silly and had some fun sound effects like this one. Overall, it wasn't too bad, but I don't think I'll come back to this game. Task 15 had us write another journal entry for another AP. Task 16 had us return to Celeste Classic, where we had to collect all 18 strawberries and reach the peak. Seeing how bad I did just reaching it earlier, there was no way I was doing this. And it's partly why we ended up going to DK Jungle Climber, because Task 17 had us obtain all collectibles on Sun Island. This again wasn't too bad, as most of them weren't too out of the way or anything, but the final level, a sort of bonus level for Sun Island, gave me so much trouble. I spent so long on this level, I ended up having to take a break from it and come back, and all we got out of it was 1 AP. Task 18 was a super simple one, as I heard through others it could be done in about 5 minutes. For this task, we chose tRAsure and had to obtain both 1-ups in the first act without dying. And yeah, this achievement was super simple and took no time at all. Well, it did, outside the fact that when I started the game I didn't realize that I chose the wrong option, and because of that I had no stats or anything, and the game just wouldn't let me play. It took me a bit to figure this out, but once I did, it was a quick earn. Task 19 saw us finally find the temple in the story where our grand prize awaited. We had to search 8 different directions to find one of 2 entrances to get in though. Because the end of the event loomed closer, I ended up trying to do as many as I could to make sure I found an entrance. First up, we checked the northwest by collecting all 10 treasures in the first level of Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine. This game is basically Indiana Jones' Tomb Raider, and it was actually pretty well done. My only complaint was the cutscenes in this game just dragged on and on, but completing this, we found the underground tunnel entrance. We could have stopped there, but I didn't know until much later what I found, so I kept going. So we then searched the north with Bugs Bunny and Taz Time Busters, where we had to obtain the boss token in the first world. I'd already mastered this game as it came up for an achievement of the month previously, so it took me no time at all, and we found the entrance for a gap in the wall. Well, geez, we already found both entrances, so what more could there be? Well, next up we checked northeast by playing Frogger's Adventures Temple of the Frog, where we had to collect every coin and butterfly in ancient ruins. And oh my god, this game was one that was going to make me crash out so hard. For some reason, I just absolutely struggled with this game, and it took me way longer than it should have. We ended up finding a small locked box going this way though, which we'll touch on in a moment. We then tried to search the east with collecting all the gems from the first level of Montezuma's Revenge. Honestly, after what I dealt with in Frogger, I was not feeling this game with these lasers that just kept killing me, and so I figured that I would just drop it and be happy checking everywhere else. Next up was southeast with completing all 5 rooms of Floor 3 in the Adventures of Lolo. This was actually a pretty fun puzzle game, though I did have to look up a guide for how some of the mechanics worked for it. This ended up getting us a small shiny key. Because we ended up getting both the small locked box and small shiny key, We were able to open the box and find a small wooden dice which would help us later on with task 25. Checking the cell taught us how to get every chest in Altago Plains and Shrine of Origins in Ease 7. And man, I'm hoping I pronounced that correctly. Anyways, this is my first time playing an Ease game, and it was kind of neat actually, and with all the praise I've heard of this series, I may check it out again later on. Going this way, we ended up getting 2 AP. Next was Southwest, where we had to find all 3 secrets in the first level of Tomb Raider. With our experience from Indiana Jones earlier, this wasn't too bad. Though it did take me a while to figure out how to get up on this one ledge, as the guides I looked at for it made it very confusing on what buttons to press. Another path down, and this one gave us another AP. Finally, we had the west direction with Maitentai Konan Karakuri Chi and Satsujin Jiken, which I know I pronounced horribly. Just go with it. For this, we just had to investigate the temple and find the corpse. I used to remember watching Detective Conan as a kid growing up, so this was a treat and made me want to go back and watch it. The game was simple and was more like a visual novel, but completing this gave us a large gold key which would come into play for task 22. And with all that done, task 20 had us earn another AP for writing a journal entry. For task 21, we had to earn at least one achievement that matched the entrance we had found. Because I didn't know what entrance I had found at the time, I did one for each just in case. First up, we went with the gap in the wall playing Rugrats Scavenger Hunt, where we had to find a screwdriver on Angelica's temple. Now this is a game I played a lot as a kid with my mom, so I was actually fond of going back to it, even if it's not the greatest. It took a bit of time, but we ended up getting it, with the only issue being Tommy trying to throw the game by helping Angelica constantly. I actually might come back and try and master this game, so maybe there will be a video on that in the future. For the underground tunnel, we went with the Bug's Life, where we had to obtain the flick metal in the tunnels. This game was pretty easy, as I just sort of spammed the attack button as I ran through everything, and after getting lost and turned around multiple times, I eventually got all the letters for flick and got the achievement. Task 22 was a long one, as it had us have to get at least 12 temple points to progress by getting achievements that counted for either 1 or 2 temple points. Luckily, we found a large gold key previously, which ended up counting for 3 temple points already. First up, for 3 total points, we went into... I'm not gonna butcher the Japanese pronunciation of this title and just say Maze of Gallius, where we had to find both the arrow and ceramic arrow. This game is a pretty unique platformer where you could swap between 2 characters who had different stats as you traversed the maze. Honestly, I just looked up a map and found out how to do things for this game, and it wasn't too bad. The worst problem I had was I initially thought to open doors I had to press a button, when really it's just you push into it and be patient. Then we tried Tobal 2, which I was surprised almost no one had gotten the achievements from it, but quickly realized the reason why was because this game is just straight up difficult, and I quickly noped out of it. I then went on to try Cleopatra Fortune, thinking it'd be an easy 3 points as it's just a puzzle game. Except I didn't really grasp what the game wanted me to do and ended up quitting out of that one too. Next up was Captain Blaubar, which again I know I'm mispronouncing. This was another game I had mastered previously for Unwanted, and again one I didn't want to return to because there are virtually no guides for this game and some of these puzzles are just agonizing to deal with. I ended up clearing the puzzles 11 through 15 in 2 different sections though, netting me another 3 points. Up next was Amazing Tater, where we had to clear floor 10 on level 1 and floor 5 on level 3. This was your typical block pushing game, and I just looked at the guide because shockingly some of these puzzles were actually difficult to do. I then spent way too long on Shining in the Darkness thinking it'd again be an easy 3 points, but oh how wrong I was. I spent hours just going into this dungeon, dying and repeating until I looked it up, and one guide said it could take up to 5 to 8 hours to get to where these achievements were. I was not in the mood for that and was getting really bored of the game, so I quit trying these. I then went on to do the last 1 point games to clear out everything, as I didn't know I had the key at the time. First was Pyramid of Ra, which was another simple puzzle game where you just had to clear out the blocks without double backing. We had to just finish the game for this one, and I ended up mastering it as it was super easy to do, and just if you try it yourself, lower the volume. The other game was Dark and Under, where we just had to finish the game. This game had a bit of an exploit where you could just defend and your health would reset to 50 instead of killing you, and it made it a lot easier. Some of the mazes we had to explore were annoyingly long, and there are no maps out there for it. Task 23 had us write another journal entry for an extra AP. Task 24 had us able to earn 2 AP by earning one of 4 different Ruby achievements. Initially I tried doing this in Aladdin, but wasn't really enjoying the game, so I ended up swapping to Young Merlin, which was a very interesting adventure game. I actually thought the game was super silly, and I'm thinking of coming back to it in the future. And with that, we had fully completed the event, but there were still 3 more tasks left. Task 25 happened at the very end of the event. For this, a d20 would be rolled for every participant, and any remaining AP we had would be added to our roll. We had to roll a 15 or higher to succeed, and rolling a 1 would always be a failure no matter what. Since we had the small wooden die, if we failed our first roll, we'd be able to make a second one. Any benefits or consequences with this roll may play a part in a future retro adventure though, so you know I didn't want to fail this. Because we had 18 AP at the end, as long as we didn't roll 2 ones, we would end up passing. And on the final day, we rolled a 9 for a total of 27, granting us a success. Task 26 was another journal entry which counted towards the final AP total, and Task 27 was filling out feedback for the event. Honestly, I really enjoyed this event and can't wait for a future installment. It was a lot of fun following the story, and I really enjoyed the difference in tasks that provided a sort of choose-your-own-adventure way of going about the event. The only thing I hated were some of the achievements were just really difficult, but that could always just be a skill issue. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. I plan on doing more Retro Achievements content in the future, as well as other variety gaming content. So if that interests you, maybe consider hitting the subscribe button.